Ethan Jacobs sat in his private jet, eyes glued to his laptop screen. The hum of the engines was the only sound, but his mind was loud with numbers, projections, and the constant pull of ambition. At 38, he was already a legend in Nigeria's tech world, a self-made billionaire with a sharp mind and a heart full of dreams. He had grown up in Surulere, Lagos. Life hadn't been easy. His mother sold clothes in Balogun Market, and his father was a struggling teacher. Ethan's turning point came when he built a small software to help local businesses keep digital records. It exploded beyond his wildest dreams. Now, his tech export company had branches in Dubai, Shenzhen, and London. He had the respect of world leaders, the envy of fellow entrepreneurs, and the love of millions online. But there was one thing Ethan didn't have: love. Real love. Boss, his assistant, Chuka, tapped on the door to the cabin, landing in Lagos in 20 minutes. Ethan nodded. Thanks, Chuka. What's the first stop? The charity gala at the Marriott Hotel. 7 p.m. Ethan smiled faintly. Right. Let's make an appearance. He didn't know that night would change everything. The gala was filled with Lagos elites, actors, musicians, politicians, and powerful business people. Cameras flashed, drinks flowed, and smooth jazz played in the background. Ethan walked in wearing a sleek black tuxedo. People turned. Whispers followed. That's Ethan Jacob, right? He looks better in person. Sharp guy. I heard his last deal in China was worth over $50 million. In a corner of the hall, Hannah White adjusted her golden dress and flipped her hair. She was beautiful, tall, glowing skin, with eyes that seemed to pull people in. But beneath that warm smile was a calculating mind. Her friend, Tolu, nudged her. Isn't that your type? Hannah sipped her champagne slowly, eyes fixed on Ethan. That's the Ethan Jacob? Billionaire. Tech king. Still single. Hannah smiled, slow and deliberate. Then I guess it's time we met. As Ethan turned to greet a group of business leaders, Hannah stepped forward, accidentally bumping into him. Oh, I'm so sorry, she said, looking up. Ethan chuckled. No problem at all. Are you all right? I'm fine. Just embarrassed I spilled my drink on your shoe. She laughed, graceful and light. He looked down at the small splash. It's nothing. Shoes are replaceable. Not when they belong to Ethan Jacob, she said with a wink. He laughed again, charmed. You know my name, but I don't know yours. Hannah. Hannah White. Nice to meet you, Hannah. And just like that, the seed was planted. Over the next few weeks, Ethan and Hannah were seen together more and more. At first, Ethan tried to stay cautious. She's beautiful, he told Chuka one afternoon. But I don't know if it's real. I don't know if she's real. Chuka shrugged. She seems nice. But you know how it is. Everyone wants something. Ethan sighed. I just want someone who sees me, not just the money. Despite his doubts, Ethan couldn't help falling. Hannah was everything he thought he needed. Funny, supportive, curious about his work. She would show up at his office with lunch, leave little notes in his bag, and send him messages while he traveled. Thinking about you. Stay safe, my genius red heart. Social media went wild. Hashtag Ethan and Hannah started trending. They were the couple everyone wanted to be. Ethan's followers called her the queen of the tech king. But behind the scenes, Hannah had her own plans. She'd done her research. Every deal Ethan made, every property he owned, even the offshore accounts. She played the perfect role, supportive, sweet, and never too pushy. One evening, Ethan invited her to dinner at a private rooftop restaurant in Victoria Island. The view of Lagos was stunning, the city lights sparkling below them. I've never met someone like you, Ethan said, holding her hand. You make me feel grounded, like I'm not alone anymore. Hannah looked at him, eyes soft. You've built an empire, Ethan. But even kings need a queen. He smiled. Then marry me. She gasped, playing the part perfectly. Are you serious? He pulled out a ring, a stunning diamond set in platinum. As serious as I've ever been. Yes, she cried, throwing her arms around him. That night, their engagement went viral. But behind closed doors, Ethan had a matter to settle. I need to bring up the prenup, he told his lawyer. It's standard, the lawyer replied. You're protecting your company, your assets. It's not about mistrust. When Ethan brought it up to Hannah, he was nervous. Hey, babe, he said, handing her the papers. This is just legal stuff. It doesn't mean I don't trust you. It's just what I've always done. Hannah took the papers, her expression unreadable. I understand, she said after a long pause. Love is worth more than money. If this is what gives you peace, I'll sign. Ethan felt a wave of relief. Thank you. You don't know how much this means to me. She kissed him on the cheek. I just want us to be happy. Together. In her mind, she smiled. You think a piece of paper can protect you? We'll see. Their wedding was the event of the year. Held at a private beach resort in Lagos, it was a blend of luxury and culture. The white and gold themes sparkled under the tropical sun. A-list guests flew in from Dubai, London, and even New York. Traditional drummers performed at the entrance. Bridesmaids in flowing champagne-colored dresses led the way. Hannah wore a custom-made dress by a top designer from Paris, while Ethan's ibada was embroidered with gold threads. As they stood under a floral arch, the officiant smiled. Ethan Jacob, do you take Hannah White as your lawfully wedded wife? Ethan looked at her, eyes full of love. I do. Hannah White, do you take Ethan Jacob as your lawfully wedded husband? Hannah smiled sweetly. I do. Applause. Music. Fireworks. The internet went crazy. They look like royalty. This is what love looks like. Hashtag Ethan and Hannah forever. They danced late into the night, surrounded by flashing lights and cheering guests. But even as Ethan held her close on the dance floor, Hannah's eyes drifted past him, watching, calculating, already thinking about what came next. The cold wind of London hit Ethan's face as he stepped out of Heathrow Airport. He zipped up his coat and smiled. The city felt different, serious, focused, full of opportunity. It had been 6 months since the wedding. A major tech accelerator in London had invited him to pitch his latest software project. Investors were interested. Big money, bigger exposure. He applied for a UK work visa, and within weeks, he was in. I'm proud of you, man, Chuka said over a video call. London isn't ready for you. Ethan laughed. Let's just build first, talk later. A month later, with his business now registered and showing promise, Ethan called Hannah. Babe, I'm flying you in next week. Visiting visa for now, but we'll sort out your stay soon. Hannah sighed. Finally, I'm tired of all these Lagos events. Nothing feels the same without you. I miss you too. Wait till you see our new place. The flat in Canary Wharf was breathtaking. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the River Thames. The kitchen was ultra-modern. The bedroom had a walk-in closet just for her. Wow, Hannah whispered when she walked in. This is insane. Ethan smiled. Only the best for my queen. But it wasn't long before the magic wore off for her. Ethan was gone most days before she woke up. Meetings, pitches, investor calls. Sometimes he slept at the office. At first, she tried to be understanding. But after the 3rd week of dining alone, she started to snap. One night, she confronted him. You never hear, Ethan. I moved across the world for you. I'm building for us, he said, exhausted. This window of opportunity won't stay open forever. I didn't marry you to live like a widow. He stepped forward, softening his tone. I know. I'm sorry. Just give me time. Once we secure the next round of funding, we'll take that trip to Italy, remember? Hannah didn't respond. She turned away, hiding the anger brewing inside her. Days turned into weeks. Ethan's company was booming, but Hannah felt invisible. She tried to be part of the process. Why don't you make me a co-founder? She asked one evening. He chuckled. You don't even like tech, babe. I could be head of PR. I do have experience. He looked thoughtful, but shook his head. Let's not mix everything. Besides the prenup. Right, she muttered, eyes dark. The prenup. From that night, something changed. She started digging, checking his documents, watching his email habits, following his business partners on social media. One partner in particular caught her attention, Darren Stone, a smooth-talking Brit who handled investor relations. She showed up uninvited at one of their meetings, wearing a tight red dress and a flirtatious smile. Ethan's told me so much about you, she said, placing her hand lightly on Darren's arm. Darren raised an eyebrow. That's nice. We were just finishing up. Later that night, Hannah messaged him. You're smart. You know Ethan's nothing without your help. We could be stronger together. Darren left the message on read. Nothing more. Hannah's next plan? Forgery. She tried copying Ethan's signature from some old documents. She printed fake co-ownership contracts, thinking she could slip them in among the real ones. But Ethan was careful. Everything was password protected. Everything was backed up on encrypted servers. One afternoon, he caught her snooping through his drawer. "What are you looking for?" he asked, voice firm. She froze. "Just checking if you left any notes for me." He narrowed his eyes. "Don't lie to me. Maybe if you trusted me more, I wouldn't have to check." They argued for hours that night. Ethan slept on the couch. By now, the honeymoon was long gone. What remained was resentment, bitterness, and for Hannah, cold calculation. Hannah was pacing the living room when the idea hit her. She stood still, breath quickening. "Divorce won't get me anything because of the prenup," she whispered to herself. But what if? She picked up her phone and began a plot. Over the next few days, she started building a case. She saved voice notes from past arguments, twisting the context. She took screenshots of texts, deleting her own harsh messages to make it look like Ethan was always the aggressor. Then, she went a step further, hurting herself. She pressed her arm hard against the edge of the bed, creating bruises. She scratched her neck. She even hit her thigh with a rolling pin. She stood in front of the mirror, looking at her reflection. "Perfect," she whispered. Next, she called the UK Home Office. I'm scared," she said, fake tears in her voice. "My husband's hurting me. I want to leave, but I can't. He took my passport. Please help me." They took her very seriously. Within 48 hours, the police were knocking at their door. It was 6:12 a.m. Ethan had just woken up when the banging started. Boom, boom, boom. "Open the door." London Metropolitan Police. Ethan rushed out in his boxers. "What's going on?" Officers stormed the apartment. "Mr. Ethan Jacob, you are under arrest for suspicion of domestic abuse and coercive control." "What?" Ethan looked at Hannah. "What the hell is going on?" She stood silently by the corner, wearing a hoodie, fake tears on her face, bruises visible on her arm. "Hannah, what are you doing?" "I told them the truth," she said coldly. Ethan's world spun. They cuffed him and read him his rights. "I didn't do anything," he kept repeating. "This is a mistake." At the station, he was questioned for hours. They showed him photos of Hannah's bruises. "She hurt herself," he shouted. "She's lying. Check my messages. Check my fingerprints on her passport. She has it, not me." But in court, the judge leaned toward caution. Her emotional testimony, the photos, the texts, the public image of the tech billionaire. His work visa was flagged. His residency application was frozen. 2 weeks later, his visa was revoked. They gave him 10 days to leave the country. Back at the apartment, Ethan returned to collect his things. Hannah was sitting on the couch like nothing happened. "You lied," he said quietly. She looked up. "You underestimated me. I loved you. I didn't ask for your love. I asked for a life. You locked me out of everything. So I took what I could. I lost everything because of you." She stood, walked over to him, and whispered, "You'll bounce back. You're good at that. But next time, maybe don't play king without making the right queen." He left without another word. 10 days later, Ethan was on a flight back to Lagos, heartbroken, humiliated, and legally banned from re-entering the UK for the next 3 years. The dream had turned into a nightmare. The day Ethan left London, the skies were gray, and the air was sharp with a bite of early winter. But in a luxurious flat in Canary Wharf, Hannah White was glowing. She popped a bottle of vintage champagne and held her phone up to record a video. "Cheers to fresh starts and no more fake love," she giggled, clinking glasses with 2 friends. The camera panned across the flat. Expensive furniture, fine art, and a view of the River Thames. "New home, new life," she said, sipping her drink with a smug smile. She posted it all on Instagram. Her caption read, "Queen moves only nail polish, hashtag, new beginnings, hashtag, Hannah Rising." Within minutes, her followers flooded the post with fire emojis and comments. "Slay, boss lady, men are trash anyway. Look at God, smiling face with hard eyes." But what they didn't see was the paperwork spread across her glass coffee table. Documents Ethan had left behind in his rush. Property agreements, transfer forms, bank slips, legal notes. She studied them for hours, highlighting parts, circling signatures. Then she made her move. Ethan had been about to buy a new penthouse near the London Eye, sleek, modern, exclusive. Everything was nearly done. All that was left was a final signature. Hannah called the agent. "Hi, this is Mrs. Jacob. My husband had to travel urgently. I'm finalizing the paperwork." "Oh, yes, we've been waiting," the agent replied. She faked a polite laugh. "Of course. You know how hectic business can be. He asked me to handle the final details." With a few forged signatures and some smooth talking, she slid into the deal. Days later, she was handed the keys. She stood in the penthouse's master bedroom, sunlight pouring in through the tall windows, and whispered to herself, "I did it. I finally did it." She started hosting guests, high-profile brunches, late-night parties. Her social media sparkled with luxury outfits, spa days, and private chefs. Everyone believed she had risen, that she had claimed the throne Ethan abandoned. But outside of the screen, something always felt off. The silence in the house. The way her reflection looked back at her, colder now. And the way her heart skipped whenever the doorbell rang. 3 months passed. The London sky was now covered in snow. Streets were icy. People rushed around in coats and scarves. Inside her penthouse, Hannah was curled under a cashmere blanket, sipping hot cocoa and scrolling Instagram. That's when the doorbell rang. She groaned and stood up, annoyed. Probably another delivery. She opened the door without looking through the peephole. 2 immigration officers stood there, one tall and stern-looking, the other holding a tablet. "Ms. Hannah White." "Yes," she said, suddenly alert. "We're from the UK Home Office. We need to speak with you about your immigration status. May we come in?" Her heart began to race. "I'm sure. Is something wrong?" They stepped inside, professional and calm. "You entered the UK on a 6-month visiting visa," the female officer said. "Your entry was tied to your husband, Ethan Jacob, who held a Tier 1 entrepreneur visa." "Yes, but we're separated now," Hannah said, trying to steady her voice. "I've been staying on my own." The officer nodded. "That's actually the problem. Mr. Jacob was recently deported after his visa was revoked." Hannah blinked. "Yes, but that has nothing to do with me anymore." "It has everything to do with you," the man replied. "You were granted temporary stay on the condition that he remained in legal status. Once his visa was canceled, your stay here became invalid." Hannah's throat went dry. That can't be right. No one told me." "We've tried reaching you for over a month," the woman said. "Letters were sent to your registered address. You didn't respond. I changed flats. We're aware. But you didn't update your contact with immigration services. That, too, is a violation." She took a step back. "So what does this mean?" "We're placing you under arrest for immigration violation," the officer said calmly. "You will be deported with immediate effect." Her mouth dropped open. "Wait, no. You don't understand. I have rights. I live here now. My name is on property documents." "We're aware of the forged paperwork," the woman cut in. "A formal investigation has been opened. We can discuss that with your legal representative, if you choose to appeal." "I'm not going anywhere," Hannah shouted. The officers exchanged a glance. Then, the woman stepped forward. "I'm afraid you are." They allowed her to pack a single suitcase. She scrambled, throwing designer clothes into the bag with shaky hands. Tears filled her eyes, but her pride wouldn't let them fall. "I was supposed to win," she whispered to herself. As she was escorted out, her neighbors peeked through their windows. Some whispered, others recorded. She was no longer the queen. The airport. At Heathrow, she sat alone, surrounded by silence. No friends. No farewell. No one to post #Justice for Hannah. Her phone buzzed. It was a message from a burner account. "Karma always delivers. Sleep tight. EJ." She dropped the phone. For the first time in a long while, Hannah White was truly afraid. Meanwhile, in Lagos, Ethan sat on the balcony of his childhood home, looking out at the streets he grew up in. He had lost his empire. He had lost his name, but not his soul, and not his fire. A new plan was already forming in his mind. The hot Lagos sun beat down on Ethan as he stood on the balcony of his family's modest home in Surulere. Sweat ran down his temple, but he didn't feel it. His mind was somewhere else. He'd lost everything. His business, his freedom, his dignity. The UK authorities had shut the door on him. His so-called wife had betrayed him in the worst way. For days, he didn't leave his room. His mother, Mama Grace, would knock softly each morning. "Ethan, come and eat something, my son." "I'm not hungry, Mama." But one day, she sat beside him on the bed, holding a small photo of his late father. "Your papa would not want this. He taught you to rise, even if life knocks you down." He looked at the photo, his father smiling in his workshop, covered in oil and sweat, holding up a small radio he'd fixed. That night, Ethan opened his laptop for the first time in weeks. He sent one email, then another, then 50, some to old investors, some at tech friends in Dubai, Singapore, and Kenya. He was honest with them all. "I was framed. I lost everything. But I'm not done yet. I want to build again. Bigger. Smarter." From Africa. A week passed. Then replies started rolling in. "We believe in you, Ethan. Let's talk. Schedule a Zoom call. I've heard about what happened. Count me in." Within a month, Ethan had put together a new plan, a fintech startup designed to help everyday Nigerians manage money, invest, and send funds internationally with ease. He called it ZillaPay. This time, no flashy office. Just a small co-working space in Yaba, a whiteboard, and 4 passionate developers. "Let's build a solution," he told his team, "that even my mother can use without calling me for help." The app grew fast. People loved it. By the 10th month, they had over 2 million users and had raised over 1.2 billion Nigerian nairas in funding. CNN Africa called him the Phoenix of FinTech. Forbes Africa did a full cover story. From Deported to Dominant. How Ethan Jacob beat betrayal and built ZillaPay. Ethan smiled when he saw the article. Not out of pride, but because he had proved to himself and to the world that character matters more than titles. One evening, Chuka, his old friend from Lagos Tech Hub, came by. "You really did it, bro." Ethan chuckled. "One brick at a time." Chuka handed him a printed message. "Guess who emailed you through the site's contact form?" Ethan read it. It was short. "I'm sorry. HW." He folded the paper, unreadable. "What now?" Chuka asked. Ethan took a deep breath and said quietly, "Now, we move forward." Meanwhile, across town in Ajagunal, life had changed in the harshest way for Hannah White. Gone were the designer heels and champagne brunches. Now, she lived in a stuffy one-room flat with peeling walls, noisy neighbors, and mosquitoes that never slept. She hadn't spoken to any of her old friends in months. They had all vanished once the UK scandal hit the blogs. "User blocked you," was the message she saw over and over. The penthouse? Gone. Her fake documents had caught up with her. The legal mess left her blacklisted by property agents. When she landed in Lagos, she tried calling people for help. "Hannah, things are tough right now. I'll call you back." No one did. Now, she worked 3 days a week at a struggling makeup studio, sweeping floors and washing brushes for a younger girl she once mocked online. She spent most nights scrolling on her cheap Android phone, watching people she used to hang out with post photos from Dubai, Cape Town, and Banana Island. Then one day, her phone buzzed. A friend sent her a link. Forbes Africa cover. Ethan Jacob, the comeback king. She stared at the screen, her mouth open. Ethan was smiling, wearing a tailored suit, surrounded by his young tech team. How? Her hands trembled as she read the article. Every word felt like a slap. He rebuilt? From nothing. She sat on her thin foam mattress, tears streaming down her face. No, this isn't fair. She scrolled further, saw pictures of him at a tech conference in Nairobi, then another in Ghana. Always surrounded by fans. Applauded. Admired. She opened Instagram and searched. At Ethan Jacob Official. Verified. For 0.7 million followers. She checked his stories. He was in Rwanda, launching a new project. Happy. Glowing. Her heart sank deeper. That night, she sat outside, staring at the dusty street, her hair tied in an old scarf. A neighbor walked by and asked, "Auntie Hannah, why you days sit outside like say your spirit Don Waka?" She forced a fake smile. Just thinking. The neighbor shrugged and walked off. She whispered to herself, "I thought I was winning, but I ruined the only person who truly loved me." Her tears dropped silently on her lap. She wanted to message him. She typed a long note. I made the biggest mistake of my life. I don't want your money. I just want to say sorry, Ethan. I never stopped loving you. I was stupid. Please forgive me. But she stared at the message and deleted it. She knew the truth. Some bridges burned too completely to ever be rebuilt. Later that month, a young journalist doing a documentary on fallen Lego socialites knocked on Hannah's door. Are you the same Hannah White from the Ethan Jacobs story? She hesitated, then nodded. Would you like to tell your side? She looked around at her small room, her worn clothes, the dusty fan spinning slowly above her. She shook her head. No, she said, voice barely a whisper. Let the world forget me. Meanwhile, Ethan stood at a ZillaPay charity event, shaking hands with school children whose fees his company now sponsored. A young girl hugged him and said, Thank you, sir. I want to be like you one day. He smiled, bent down, and said gently, Then be kind, and never let pain make you bitter. He looked out into the Lego sky. This time, there was peace in his heart. He had lost, but he had also found something stronger. Clarity, resilience, and purpose. It was a quiet Thursday afternoon in the ZillaPay headquarters. Ethan's new office sat on the 15th floor of a sleek glass tower in Victoria Island. The walls were lined with minimalist art, soft lighting, and plaques from recent awards. Africa's most promising fintech company, top 30 under 40, and global tech disruptor of the year. Ethan sat behind a wide desk, sipping mint tea, his eyes scanning a presentation on his tablet. Just then, his assistant, Uche, walked in with a knock. Sir, your guest is here. Ethan looked up. Which guest? Chuka, Uche said with a grin. He brought something strange. Chuka strolled in, wearing his usual jeans and an ironic t-shirt that read Techies Do It Better. He dropped into the guest chair and placed his phone on the table. Bro, he said, shaking his head. You will not believe what I saw on Twitter this morning. Ethan raised a brow. What now? Another fake coin launch. Chuka turned the phone toward him. No, man. Just watch. Ethan leaned forward. The video was shaky, shot with a cheap phone. It showed a busy market in Lagos, Ladipo, from the looks of it. People moved in and out of frame, haggling, shouting. Then the camera focused on a woman. Her face was dusty, her hair scattered. She wore an old blouse and held out her hand to strangers. It was Hannah. The caption read, Isn't this that woman who married the billionaire and snitched him to immigration? God don't catch her loudly crying face, broken heart. Voices in the video could be heard laughing and mocking. See fine girl way chop money before. Life no balance, oh. She no even fit wash hand beg. In the video, Hannah didn't speak. She just stood there, tears in her eyes, hands trembling. She looked like a ghost of the woman she once was. Ethan stared at the screen for a long time. His fingers didn't twitch. His lips didn't move. Just silence. Chuka cleared his throat. I thought you should see it. It's everywhere now. She's trending. Uche shifted uncomfortably in the background. Should we make a statement? Just in case people tag you. Ethan leaned back in his chair and looked out the window at the Lego skyline. Then he said quietly, Pain taught me what peace couldn't. Chuka blinked. Bro. Ethan turned to Uche. We won't respond. No need. He paused, then added softly, Let her find her own peace now. Later that evening, Ethan sat alone on the balcony of his penthouse, watching the city lights flicker. He thought of how far he had come, how he had loved so deeply and been broken, how he had lost everything and rebuilt. He didn't feel revenge. He didn't feel pity. He felt stillness. And in that moment, he finally understood. True power isn't in fighting back. True power is knowing you don't need to. 2 days later, Ethan stood at the private terminal of Murtala Muhammad International Airport. His black tailored suit clung to him like armor, his passport in hand, his eyes calm. Uche wheeled his Louis Vuitton suitcase behind him, double-checking everything. Flight's ready, sir. The airline attendant smiled, handing over his boarding pass. Thank you, Ethan said. As he walked toward the jet, reporters behind the fence called his name. Mr. Jacob, off to Dubai. Is ZillaPay launching internationally? Any comment on the viral Hannah video? Ethan paused for a second. then gave a small, polite smile. No comment. But thank you for your support. He stepped into the jet. Inside, a hostess offered him a drink. He waved it off, sat near the window, and pulled out a notebook. On the first page was a new idea, a new vision. Dubai was just the beginning. As the engines roared to life, the planes slowly taxied forward. Outside, the sun began to set, casting golden light over Lagos, over Ethan's empire, over the path he had carved with fire and faith. The camera slowly zoomed out. Then the screen faded to black, and a single caption appeared. The betrayed became the builder. Again,